One of the crazy experiences I had was I did get bit by a dog. I feel like a lot of people do get bit by a dog, but I'm purely terrified. So before I left for my mission, my little sister got bit by a dog. I'm like, whoa, I never want that to happen to me. And then I got to Samoa, and probably, I want to say a month and a half, 2 months of being on the island of Upolu. My friend and I, we were in this village, and we started going up the mountain, and there was this dog that just looked super sketchy. It starts barking at me. So in Samoa, what you do is like you pick up a rock and you pretend to throw it and they'll run, usually. So this dog started coming at us. I picked up a rock and it went away, and just instinctively I threw it, and I was like, oh, okay, I feel tough, not scared of dogs anymore. And we went to go visit someone. We went to go visit a friend over up the mountain, and when we came back down, that same dog was super quiet. I was like, I don't have a good feeling about this. So my friend told me, just don't look at them. Don't look at them. They're not there. If you pretend like you're not scared, they won't know. So I went down the mountain, and I was just walking confidently, pretending that the dog wasn't there. And it walked up right next to me. I was like, it's not there. It's not there. And all of a sudden, I feel something just like clasp onto the back of my leg. I'm like, it freaked me out. It freaked me out. And so I looked at the back of my leg. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't get bit. I guess it was just a bite. And then I looked again, and blood started gushing down my leg. So that was one of the craziest experiences, but also a miracle, because it's not the nicest road to go up, but a taxi was just driving all of a sudden on that same road, and they decided like, hey, can we take you home? We'll take you home, like, so you don't have to walk with blood gushing down your leg. So cool, crazy, and miraculous experience. That's one of many, I just want to say. So I served as a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Samoa, and there was this one day where my friend, my companion, and I, we were walking down this hill. It's like kind of like a back road. We went from the main road to the back road, and we were just standing there not knowing what to do. We didn't know where to go. We just kind of felt stuck, didn't know what to do. So we decided to say a prayer, and as we prayed, I just had a feeling like start walking back up to the main road. I was like, weird. So I did, and literally 1 second after I took like that few steps, a massive rock fell right behind me. I was like, I could have died today. I could have died. That was one of the biggest miracles, because I could have been dead. But I'm not. And there's just a lot. I feel like Samoa is just filled with like faithful people, and just so much guidance from God that people like you'll feel guidance from Heavenly Father or God each and every day. That was one of the coolest miraculous experiences I've ever had. And life-saving. So my favorite foods are falifu kalo and falifu fa'i, and they're very simple. You can eat them with basically anything. So you can have it with fish, you can have it with tuna, whatever you want. And basically what it is that they bake the taro, they bake the raw bananas, and then they put something that they call pe'epe'e on it, and it's basically like coconut cream. It's so good. I remember when I first got to Samoa, my friend and I, we went to people's houses, and that's what they would feed us. And at first I wasn't a fan of it, just because culture shock, and I wasn't used to it. And as I started getting used to it, I would eat it all the time, and that's what I would look forward to when people fed us. That's the first thing I grabbed. I've heard some people have eaten bat. That's something I've always wanted to try. And one village had dog, and I've always wanted to try dog. But for me, I wasn't used to the consistency of turkey tail. I thought it was just like pure fat when I first had it. But the more I got used to the country and got used to living in Samoa, I started to love it even more and more, even if it was just like a little bit undercooked, or if it was like barbecued, or if they put in curry. So good. It was so good. It's pretty exciting. I thought it was kind of weird though. The food in Samoa is so amazing, and I feel like when we learn to eat it, when we learn to get used to it, it's a sign of respect to people. That when you do enjoy their food, that you're showing that respect, that hey, thank you so much for preparing that food. I really loved it. I'm super grateful for it. And the food it's a big part of the Samoan culture, I think, because they prepare it for so many things, like obviously breakfast, lunch, dinner, but they also prepare it for missionaries and for, I guess, like servants of God from different churches. And that's why I love that there's like a huge symbolism behind the food. It's not just food put on the table. It's a sign of respect and a sign of love for others. It's like a gift for other people. I love the Samoan people. When I first got to Samoa, I wasn't really familiar with who Samoan people were, like what their personalities are like. And so when I got to Samoa, I wasn't used to it. Everyone we walked past, they'll be like, hello, or malo soy fua, which means hello. And I was just like, hi. I thought it was kind of weird because in America, you don't really do that. You don't walk past someone and just say hey to like a random stranger unless you're feeling like super confident, right? I thought that was probably the coolest thing ever because they just treated me like I was part of that country. I was part of their families or whatever, like I was their friend. But the funny thing is, I'm not Samoan, I'm not Polynesian at all, I'm Filipino, so I'm Asian, and they just treated me like I was one of them. They treated me like family, which to me was very, very important because it kind of softened my heart. And I feel like Samoan people do have that effect on people, that they have an ability to soften people's hearts and just make them feel good, make them feel confident about themselves. There's this one person that I met in Tutuila, which is American Samoa. She was probably the kindest lady I've ever met in my entire life. She opened her house to us. Like, she didn't have much, she couldn't give much, but she gave as much as she could to me and my friend. What I loved about her and I loved about the Samoan people is that whatever they can give, they will give. They don't hold back. They will do anything they can to make people feel like they're a part of a family. And I think that is so cool about the Samoan people. Some of the differences I've seen between like living in America and living in Samoa. In Samoa, you don't really have to pay like a monthly rent or mortgage or whatever. Like, that land that they live on is family owned. It belongs to their family. It's been there for generations, so they can do whatever they want, which is really, really nice. It makes it easier, I feel like, just because you don't have to worry about rent every month. You don't have to worry about mortgage, and I think it's really, really cool. With living, the people, they bring in other people from like the outside, right? I've never ever seen a homeless person in Samoa. They always have a house to live in. If they see that their nephew doesn't have a place to live or their parents can't afford to have them live with them, they live with the relatives just so they can feel secure, they can have a family, and they can have a roof over their heads. So everyone has a roof over their heads, whether it be tin or whether it be leaves or whatever. Everyone has a roof over their heads. It's common for them to have like bus transportations in Samoa. I loved buses because they're so colorful, they're loud, and oh, it's just so nice. It's not like any bus you see here in America. The buses over there, like, they're owned by families, they're owned by individual people. It doesn't belong really to, I feel like it doesn't belong to the government, but I could be wrong. It's just their bus. It's like, that's what they drive to church, that's what they drive to pick up people, whatever it may be. I love the bus transportations, especially because there's no bus stops. You can be anywhere on the road. Just put your hand up, put your thumb up, or kind of go like this and wave them down, and they'll come to you. And it's really cheap. It's probably like 1 tala, 2 tala, which that's their currency, which is equivalent to like 50 cents to $1 here in America. It's cheap. It's cheap to live in Samoa, and it's beautiful too, because you get the mountains on one side, you get the ocean on the other, and I love it. I love it. And also I love how hot it is. I love how hot Samoa is. I can't stand the cold. To me, there was kind of a culture shock. Like when I was little, I lived in the Philippines, and then I moved to America, and then serving in Samoa. It was a little bit different from the Philippines, but there were some similarities. I guess biggest culture shock for me, communication was definitely shocking to me, just with like saying hello to people, or just like how kind people are, instead of like everyone walking past you like you're not there. Everyone always acknowledged everyone, no matter who it was, even if it was just like a simple malo soy fo, which means hello, or just a simple like fa soy fo, which means goodbye. So I started getting used to that, and when I came back to America, I brought that with me. I kind of eased back into the just like casually just walking past. But when I came home from Samoa, I would go up to everyone, hello, oh bye, hello. I thought that was fun. I thought that was really fun. We're like, Grace, your turn to show me. I know, they're like, who are you saying hi to? So learning the Samoan language was difficult. It was super difficult just because I wasn't used to like the G turning into a nga. So in Samoan, the G's turn in, it sounds like NG, nga. So that took a little bit of getting used to. But besides that, like pronunciation was fine, but when I talked to people, I felt like it was different from what I learned before I got to Samoa. So in Samoan, when people speak casually, they use K's instead of T's. So for example, we are going to the store. If you speak in T's, which is more formal, I would say olea tato o ile fale o loa. But if you speak in K's, it's going to sound like olea kaku o ile fale o loa. So it's kind of like more jumbled up. And it took a little bit of getting used to, because it's clearer to hear the T's and it's a little bit harder to hear the K's. So it was a little bit difficult transitioning, especially with their casual words. Because when I was learning in our class, when we were learning the language, definitely we focused more on the formal. But when we got out to Samoa, they were definitely speaking casual. But as I kept reading books and as I kept practicing it, especially like talking to little kids, I would be able to speak a little bit more every single day. And I want to say I'm fluent in Samoan, but I definitely understand more than before I went to Samoa. So learning the language was a bit difficult. But the key for me, honestly, to speaking the language was talking to the little kids, especially like trying to learn their little phrases that they say. My favorite one that kids say, they'll put their hand out if we have like food in our hands. They'll be like, "My skalole, my skalole." That, I didn't know what that meant for a long time, and it meant like, give me your candy. And when I learned that, my mom sent me a package from America full of just like lollies from America, and I would just like hand them out to kids, and that became one of my favorite things. And after that I was like, oh, I wonder what else these kids are saying to me. And I started learning their phrases more and more. And here's actually something really funny. A little kid, I guess, kind of got ticked at me. I don't know how, but they're like, polo nguku. And I was like, what does polo nguku mean? And I was looking it up and studying it. They told me they were going to punch my mouth. I was dying. I was dying when they said that. I was like, whoa. wow, these kids got some rage. But hey, I mean, the more you know, the more you learn, right? It's just something funny. I love the little kids in Samoa. They helped me a lot with my language. So I have 2 stories of where I kind of messed up the language. Is it okay if I share both of them?
Of course.
Okay. So my first story, I didn't know. I felt so embarrassed because my friend, my companion who I was with was native. She's a native Samoan. And so we were walking down the street, and I promised myself to learn the language. I would read off every Samoan word that I see, whether it be in the stores, whether it be on the roads, whether it be like in my books that I had in my bag. And so we started walking, and there's just a big word on the sidewalk. I said it out loud, said it so proud, and my friend, my companion, she's just like, don't ever say that again. I was like, what does that mean? I swore. I said the F word in Samoan, and thank heavens no one heard it. It was just us. But that was definitely one of the most embarrassing times. I was just like, okay, I'm going to stay quiet for just a second, and I'm not going to read anything that's on the road anymore. So that's one of the stories. Embarrassing, but you live and you learn. There is a second story where I got moved to a different village. I went to a different village, and we met one of the leaders of our church who serves in that area. And so we met with him, and he was like, sisters, I can show you around. And my friend and I said, like, oh, that would be awesome if you can show us around. We're trying to say this in Samoan. So there's 2 words to know in this little story. The first one is fa'asino, which means to like show around, and then fa'amasino means to judge someone. So when I wasn't fluent yet, and I was still mixing up words, but this leader said that, okay, sisters, would you like me to show you around? I said, yes. O te fia mana'o ia oi e whaamasino ia ma'ua. And then he tried speaking English. He was like, sister, you want me to judge you? I was like, whoa, wait, what? What are you talking about? He was like, you mean fa'asino? Which means to show around. I was like, yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry. But mixing up the language. Still, you live and you learn, and that's what I love about it. I learned to laugh at myself a lot, which is great, and it made me less embarrassed because first, not Samoan at all, learning a different language, and I had only been on the island for, I want to say 7-8 months at the time. So it was a great time. Well, I guess I just wanted to give a message to the people of Samoa, to the Samoan people. I'm so grateful for all of yous. Yous have hearts of gold, and I'm so grateful that I was able to live amongst the Samoan people for a year and a half, to just embrace the culture, to embrace the love that you give to people. It's definitely made me a better person. Especially coming back to America, I want to be more like you all. And I just want to share my love to you in the Samoan language. Ote momoli atu le whawhatai o tō, hema whanta tō Whilowa'i I Samoa, maine Amerika fo'i, o te whawhatai fo'i mo tō whiawhia, mo tō alofa mo tangata umalawa. I might say lava tangata Filipino, tangata Amerika, tangata palalangi, o te whawhatai mo o tō umalawa, na whawhatai mo tō whātuatua I le atua. O te iloa, tō te iloa, e mawhauna whai I le atua mea uma, e mawhauna ia whai wawenga mo oi mo tangata uma. Ai te whawhatai mo tō alofa mo so'ose mea. Yeah. te mole atu le whapatele atua mo le ne awanoa, ma whanau whasoa atu le ne sa walimoto.